We have an activity feed over here, so you can kind of get a more clear visual of everything that's happening inside the platform as you're creating. Shows you when you make a page and everything. So you can kind of see that process happening a little more clearly and cleanly. If you've been in the platform in the last 24 hours, we have had an upstream provider that was having some technical issues. So uploading has been a little finicky, and we even put up a banner that said, hey, you can't really upload right now. That is now resolved and should work. We are working on a few pieces of that infrastructure to make it stronger. But at any rate, quick updates on that front. Here's the playground stuff. If you were here in our last meeting, we introduced the saved prompts, and you can do a couple things here. You can save your own prompts, but then we are adding kind of expert level church.tech prompts to this space as well. And we've rolled out several new prompts here. The big one that I really want to highlight on this front is the children's ministry content. So
here we go. Here we go.
There's three different pieces of this that are just really, really powerful. So the biggest piece is the children's lesson. So I can take a sermon that I've uploaded, and this will work even on like an outline upload if you use the manuscript, like copy paste. And so even if it has, the more detailed the outline, the better it's going to be. But even if it just has an outline, you can take this and use this prompt, and you'll see here, it's going to write a children's ministry lesson that I'll be honest with you, in its first form. And, one of the things we say all the time is like, this is the worst version of AI that you're ever going to use, right? So in its first form, our prompt engineering team like really outdid themselves with this. Like, it is pretty phenomenally powerful. So I'll run through this as it finishes up, give you kind of a quick overview of what this is creating. It's not just taking the sermon and saying, how do we like take everything that was said here and make it so that kindergartners through fifth graders can understand what was said, and rewriting the sermon.
So
It's
we're not just
actually
using like
creating
weird words like Riz and crazy
yeah,
words, but
as much fun as that would be. Yeah, it is actually designing a lesson plan for your children's ministry that is probably more content than you even really need, but is going to give you a method to be able to go, okay, we can edit this down and get it to where we want it to be. You can see, I mean, this is like really generating a ton of content. We put a ton of work into this. So I'll start at the top here and run through these sections really quickly. It's going to give you a warm up and welcome activity for everybody to do together. It's going to have a worship time, and if you with suggested like songs to do. This is probably the weakest part of this whole thing at this stage of the game, to be
because
honest
I
with
don't know
you,
who
but we
Uncle
will
Charlie
continue.
is, but I definitely am clicking on that link sometime today.
Yeah, so well, and I'll just go ahead and click on it and show you that it's going to take you to YouTube and actually give you a video that you could potentially use if you wanted to. And so, it's doing some pretty powerful stuff here. It's not just saying like, oh, you should do this song. It's actually giving you an example of that song that you could use. And then let me scroll back up here. Sorry. It gives you a little transition into like, hey, let's pray, and then jump into the scripture. You've got your scripture passage here. It's going to give you a little guide for helping the kids find the scripture passage in the Bible. It'll give you a creative retelling of this story, as well as like, hey, if you're going to do this, you might want to use these supplies to help really bring it to life more. It'll give you an application story as well. And then uh, a discussion prompt, like a whole series of conversational pieces that you can have a conversation with the kids, and then an activity or craft. Now, the beautiful part about this, as well as a closing prayer time, and then it's got take home materials, but I'll jump into some better versions of this here in just a second. This is really just a precursor to what another prompt is that we've added. The beautiful thing is, if you wanted to amend this or say, hey, I don't like that activity, like write a different activity, you can do that. So you can now interact with the content using AI right here. So that is what we feel like a pretty substantial release on that front. We also
Yeah,
have
let me
a
jump in there really quickly and say something about this. Okay, so when you're in doing ministry, I've never worked with a church that hasn't said, man, we would love to find a way to be teaching in our adult church all the way down to kids the same content on the weekend. And of course, the big issue is how in the world are we going to do that unless we're way ahead of time, that someone's going to have to lead the way and get their whole thing written and ready to go so someone else can take it and translate that, get that ready to go. Well, with this prompt, you now can do that and it does all the work. So your adult ministry's message, the thing you're talking to your adults about, now can be translated to the ears of an 8-year-old in less than 2 minutes. Now, will you go in there and edit that up and say, yeah, that's me, that's not me, yeah, that's me, that's not? Yes, of course you will. But how much easier is it to edit that than it is to have to think from nothing? How am I going to make this work? So that right there is a phenomenal tool for you to use at least part of the year. I know I've got one church that I work with really closely that does this every single week, but they have a whole team of writers that come together to try to do that. And it's when they saw this, they were like, what? I don't need to do that now. Right. So yeah, this is huge.
Yeah. Yep. So really trying to give you the ability to have a unified teaching plan across all generations, which then gives you the capacity to have a unified discipleship strategy. Because if everybody is now discussing the children or discussing what was talked about on Sunday in small group context, well, now your kids are discussing the same thing that the parents are, and now we can create parent guides, which is the next thing I want to show you here. And I should have done this in a new window here. Should have started a new conversation, but now I've got a parent guide, and the parents heard the same, they heard the sermon that was about this exact same passage of scripture and how they can apply it to their lives. And their kids heard, the children's ministry version of this. And now we're equipping parents to really disciple their kids as they're going and as they're being discipled. So those are big. There's also a volunteer. I'm not going to do this one, but there's a volunteer prep piece of content for this. So like if you're the children's person who's teaching the lesson or participating and leading, we've got some prep content to help get ready for that. So we've also added a few other sermon writing tools. So like if you wanted to do a parallel passages.
New conversation.
Do what? Oh,
I was going to remind you in the new conversation.
Yeah, and I just broke it. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah. So let's see here. So if I wanted to look up parallel passages based on the sermon, so let's say I uploaded an outline, right? Now I can have it go through and analyze my sermon and say, okay, here are all of the different parallel passages that are related to what you've already got in the works, and give you some reasons for how this could be applied to the outline that you've already added to the platform. So it's another sermon writing tool. Yeah. This is the problem with doing these live. It's like, I want to show you this actually happening, but it also takes a minute for it to do that.
Filling in the gaps.
So, yep. So, all right. So we'll jump to another one, and I'll just kind of point out the rest. You all have access to this now. So there's a family devotional that'll produce 5 days of devotions for your family based on the sermon. There is let's see here. I can't remember if we had the other pieces in here for. Well, yeah, I think we did last time. So that covers it for right now. Yep.
Awesome. That's going to be great. And in a minute, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can take that and integrate that into Pages, because that's an important thing. But one thing I need from you, thank you so much. One thing I want to do, like, you all know how to use those React buttons where you got like the thumbs up, kind of hands up thing. I'm going to ask you guys a question. How many of you all are using guides still versus Pages to make your weekly material? Can anybody admit to that? Is anybody using guides still? Josh, I'm not seeing any hands, which actually is pretty great.
That makes me so happy.
That's actually wonderful. We want to talk today about the value of Pages in a way that when we first started using guides, like when we first created the platform, guides was how we created our small group material and things like that. Really, really great. But as we went to improve things and take that whole platform further, there were some pieces in there that we felt like guides, the pieces that we're using in guides to get that done were just not going to be able to be done, and we had to start from scratch. So we brought an entire team, like our dev team just worked tirelessly to make the current iteration of Pages. And I'll be honest with you, my goal long term, my hope for you all long term is that you're writing your message inside of Pages. Like it's going to the point where it becomes every single time you upload a week, that section of Pages, that's everything that you have, everything you need for the week lives inside of that. And over time, you're going to be able to share that with people in your organization where you're like, I want to share this document with everybody, but this document's just for me. But the AI tools that we have built and baked into Pages, we want to spend some time today in the next 30, 20 minutes or so you have time for questions, just talking about some of the high level like value adds that we have in the Pages area. Okay. And so Josh, I wanted to see if we could spend some time talking about just the different reasons why we came up with Pages, and then like what are we doing with it that we've noticed a lot of times for people in training days when we start talking about things, there's an awful lot of I had no idea you could even do that. Well, here's the hope that you get to watch this and go, oh, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. So let's talk about Pages, Josh.
Absolutely. So Pages can do a lot. I'm gonna jump in and share my screen here again. So obviously from the playground, you can create content and then kick it over to a page. So let's see.
Yeah, let's take the one you just ran and let's move it over.
Oh, whoops. Yep. All right. This one.
Well, I was gonna take the kids ministry one. Yeah, do that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
We'll take the kids ministry content and title it, drop it over onto a page. Do what?
Kidsmin. I like it.
Kidmin. All right. So there's a number of different pieces to Pages that are really, really powerful. So first of all, we have AI baked into it in a host of different ways. So you can edit using AI. So if you highlight text and click on this AI function here, you've got editing tools and generative tools. So let's say you had written something and added it to this and you wanted to make sure that your spelling and grammar were correct, you can use it for that. You can use it to improve your writing, make it longer, shorter, simplify it. And then from a generative perspective, you can also have it continue writing. So if I click on that, it's going to take the context of what's written here that I've highlighted and the context of the entirety of the sermon, and then continue to write that section out. And so once it's done that, I can do a couple of things. One, I can just flat out insert this into the document. So if you liked some of the stuff that was written there already and wanted to keep it, you could click insert and it's going to drop this in directly below what you highlighted, the text you highlighted, or you can click replace and it'll write a whole new section. And again, one of the things that I just want to remind you with working with AI is like, don't feel like, oh man, that's done, this is as good as it gets. You always want to use this as an opportunity to be creative. And so let's say I drop this in and, I'm like, I don't really love that. Just hit the undo button, go back and then start again. You can maybe want it to really, you highlighted the whole thing, but really what you want is for it to expand upon this one section. And so you can just go back and have it write out that one section. And now I've expanded that piece of this, and now I can go in and edit it. Obviously, you've got all of the typical,
Can I
text
pause where it
editing
says,
tools.
as they take off, their feet pounding against the track, the crowd erupts with cheers and encouragement? I'm all in for this.
Yeah, I know. I picked a really weird thing to expand upon.
That's so awesome.
I'm just like, oh, there's some text. I'll just expand upon that.
I love it.
So yeah, if I highlighted this and said, expand upon this, it's going to be, I'm not going to get what I want out of it. Right. So obviously you got to pick the thing that you really want to expand upon.
Like a script, for
So
instance, or yeah.
yeah, like the script. And then the other thing that I just want to like draw your attention to is like these pages are designed to not just be a place where you create content and then copy paste it into you know, another place, right? We actually are really working hard to make this a space where you can actually create and then utilize the page as the delivery mechanism to so like now if I want to send, let's say I'm done, this is great, this lesson's perfect, and I can't wait for our kids team to actually go through and use this. I can come over here to file, click copy page URL, and then I'll drop this in the chat. I just saw the pages was an easy transition. That makes me super happy. So now you can click on that, and same way I could send this out, I could text it to my children's team, I could email it to my children's team volunteers, and now they've got the content that they need to be able to get access, to be able to run through the lesson, and it's going to look really great on their phone, which is, my wife is on the children's team. I sometimes serve on the children's team in our church, and when I do, quite frequently, I am looking at either her phone or my phone for the actual lesson content and everything. So yeah, we're trying to make it really, really easy for you to get hold of that. I'll go ahead and say this, even though, put a pin in that piece of it. The other thing is, like, if you're sending out small group content, that type of thing, we have analytics baked into this where you can see how many people have looked at a page, how much time they're spending on that page. This is a thing that is getting ready to be pretty dramatically expanded upon in some really, really exciting ways. So I want to jump to a different page and show you why or what I mean by that. So I'm going to go to a group discussion guide that I created a while ago. So here's a group discussion guide that we created for this sermon, and you'll notice a couple things about this. Like, one, we've got announcements baked in here with a clickable link, and I set it up to look this way because I wanted it to be very abundantly clear. This is a trackable link, a button with a trackable link. The way that I made that button is by creating the link, and I'm not going to actually hyperlink it right now, but creating the link and then coming up here to AI tools and clicking on Style Copilot, and saying make this an orange button. Boom, orange button, right? So Style Copilot's really powerful on a host of fronts. Like, one, you can use it to make things, make images or text look better, formatting and stuff. But it also really helps when it comes to like if I said, hey, make this an orange button using the hex code, and I put in a specific hex code of color for that orange, like your brand colors, it would do exactly that. It would it's able to do that. Again, you're going to want to like play with this. Don't expect it to be perfect every single time or the first time necessarily, but when it's not perfect, just keep playing with it and figure out how to get it to do what you want it to do. So that's a little bit on Style Copilot and the powerful tools on that front. I want to show you the next piece of this that we are rolling out now, which is editable areas.
This is huge, Bill. This is huge.
Within a page. I'm going to copy the page URL for this and go to this actual page so you can see what it looks like on the actual, on the other side of things for the actual user. So here you've got a notes section is what I created for each question. So if you were sending this out to all of your group members across your whole church, right? They can now come into this and they can click into it and make notes. The beautiful thing is, and I'll drop this into the chat as well for you so that you can actually see this. The beautiful thing is when you click into it, it's as an end user, it's going to ask you to put your phone number in. And the reason for that is when you put your phone number in, it's going to send you a verification code. You'll verify, and then you will have a unique page that is just for you. It's kind of like having them be able to like log in a very, very light form. So this unique page, what it means is that I can, oops, I'm typing that into the chat. I can type notes in here, right? So here's some notes. Here's some notes. And now I can X out of this window. I'm going to leave this window entirely, right? So now I'm completely out of that window. Going back to that page. And my notes are still here. So every time I go back to that link, because I logged in, quote unquote, didn't really log in, but I kind of logged in. That page now is completely unique to me. So you can send a singular page out to everybody in your church. They can create notes on that page. They can answer questions on that page. And as long as they've, gone through and put their phone number in, every time they go back to that link, their content will live on that page. And we're working on like kind of a light version of how to get back to all of your pages. So we'll roll out something where they'll have like a master page that they can go to where they'll be able to go back and see like here are my notes. So like groups is really good example. Here's another great example. Last time we were together, you all said that what you wanted was the ability to have a trying to figure out which window I was in, have a outline that people could fill in the blanks on, right? So we designed the prompt to do that. Sorry, I'm having to move my Zoom chat thing around. So we designed the prompt to do that, fill in the blanks outline, right? We're working on getting the sizing correct for these for the editable areas or whatever. But the beautiful thing about this is, even if you didn't do the fill in the blanks thing and you just put out this outline with all the content filled in, you can still and we'll get the fill in the blanks, we'll get the sizing right, so you can drop just a word in there. But you can still do this, right? Come up here to editables, click editable area. So if you just want to put a singular line in there, you can do that, and it'll drop a line. Right now, it's like full bleed basically across the page, or with some margin on the end. But if you want to add an area, you can do that, and then click on settings, and then you can title it, say right? And then let's say I want to give them, several lines to be able to do that. So now I've gone from sermon upload, on Friday, I've recorded myself practicing my sermon. I've created my outline here for people to follow along with while I'm preaching. Let's say I've got this all set up the way that I want it to look and feel and everything. And I can copy this and drop it in there for you. Chat if you want to look at this page live. Now I can come down here and I can write in whatever, right?
Yep.
So, and then
think about some use
every
cases.
time
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. So that's the that's obviously there are tons of use cases that this can be used for, all the way down through kids. Obviously they have to have a phone, but like if they have a phone, like high school ministry, college ministry, like they're going to be able to use these as well. And so yeah, and then where we will eventually take this to is we'll create analytics piece to this where we will protect privacy of your members. So any note that they take here is not going to be reflected inside of the platform for you. Like we're not going to show you or surface what they are writing in here. But what we can do is in aggregate, we can analyze the content of like how people are using this and interacting with it and give you insights that are not specific to a singular person, but are specific to even drilled down to levels of like personas that exist with inside of your church. So let's say, you're on Sunday, you've created a follow along with my sermon or take notes here, with the sermon, and people are taking notes and everything. And we would be able to say, hey, single moms really did not resonate with this point, and anyhow, so there's all kinds of insights we're going to be able to offer on that without compromising the privacy of your church members.
A couple things to think about with this. If you are if you make a 5-day devotional, which is one of the key things on the quick buttons that you've got, you'll have day 1, and we kind of break that up between devotion, reflection, and prayer. At the bottom of that prayer, if you had a notes section, what is God saying to you today? And they can keep track of that right there. How wonderful, how helpful would that be for them? How helpful would that be for you to know what's going on with them, right? To know, and again, you're not going to know exactly what they're saying, but we'll find a way to let it take all of the people that attend your church that are a part of that, and it'll give you some insights to it, so they don't feel like their privacy was violated in that. It's just a really, really huge piece of what's coming on. And what we can do with that to take things even further than this, with the analytics side of things and just the insight you all need as ministry professionals to help your people go further, is going to be really, really helpful for you. Okay. A couple things I want to hit on really quickly. There's 2, Josh, that I really want to talk about with this. Is 1, let's jump them back into one of the pages and just show them a translation tool real quick, just so they can make sure. Some of you are in areas of the country, or you've got a message, but you're creating material. You can hit with 2 buttons, and you can
Don, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Is everyone else having a hard time with that?
Breaking up, it says I'm unstable.
You all hear me? Okay, all right.
We'll say that.
I'm gonna
but that's okay.
yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you the translation tool. No, you're still pretty broken up, Don, which is weird because we're in the same room on different sides of it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you the translation tool here. So up in AI tools, right above the style Copilot, if you wanted to translate this page to a different language, you have multiple languages that are spoken within your church. You just click Spanish, click confirm, and it'll take about a minute and 30 seconds, but it's going to completely translate this page into Spanish. Oh, it's a little faster this time. And I've got my outline now in Spanish. The other cool thing about this is when you do this, if you've got editable sections within it already, those will live, it'll translate the content in there as well. Whatever you put in that space to help people understand what they should do with that space, it'll translate that, and you'll be able to have that in there as well. And the cool thing about this is it allows you to be able to create content for multiple different segments of people who speak different languages, obviously, but you also get analytics on these pages as well, right? So now you can see is our Spanish segment of our church or French segment of our church, engaging with us as well. And so, it's hopefully a really helpful tool. We're going to add some more languages. We are working on that right now. And
Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear me again. I'm sorry, we're getting into a room now that is getting very full of people. So it looks like internet's going to degrade. We apologize for this. One thing I do want to highlight is domain masking, Josh. just for them so they
Oh
can see
yeah.
what that is?
Yep. Yeah. So the other thing that we can do now is, and we're about to take this out of beta. We need to make a few training videos for this, but if you go to the content tab and go to domains, um, you don't have to use page.church.tech. Um, you can add a new domain here so that the content that you're sending out to people, like if you're using text messages, uh, particularly this is helpful. And then also if you're sending people to pages actively, the domain, it's going to say church.tech, and our guess is you probably want it to say your church's domain. So you can do that now. You just click add a custom domain, tell it what you want it to be. You have to use your domain, so you have to own the domain that you use, right? But page.yourchurchesdomain.com, you can also use like blog.yourchurch or kids. And we're going to give you the capacity to be able to have numerous different custom domains that you'll be able to then choose, hey, which domain do I want this page to point at? This has all kinds of benefits. One, you can create all kinds of different like segmented content that is, going to, where your people will get to the point where they're like, oh yeah, I know what page this is. It's going to be on blog, got our church's domain. But the other beautiful thing is with the ability to have domain masking, you actually it adds a domain record to your DNS settings. So if you're nerdy like me and you know what that means, great, you already know what I'm about to say. But if you're not nerdy and you don't know what that means, it actually tracks things back to your domain. So when Google goes out and crawls that new page that you've created, it's going to increase your search engine optimization for your church's website dramatically. So like if you're not using the blog for your based on your sermon every single week, you're going to want to set up custom domains and then do a blog post every single week based on it, because it will radically increase your like
Web traffic.
findability, so to speak, on Google and other search engines as well. So it's a really powerful thing. We're very excited about it.
Okay, everybody, we have 6 minutes left. And I know it's getting a little bit crazy in here. I love it. Jay, thanks for writing in. I saw tags. Is that coming soon? Josh, go ahead and jump on that.
Yeah, we're actively we're making a few different improvements. So we're rolling out kind of a version 2 at the very beginning of August. We've delayed it a little bit. We're going to roll it out in July, but there's a few pieces that we decided to add to it. So tagging will be a part of that version 2, and it's coming with a whole new way to kind of organize all of your files anyways. And so we don't have time to get into it, but it's going to be way more user friendly.
Yes,
when it creates a new page,
a whole new page, absolutely. So you've got analytics just for that.
Jay, it is. We're working really hard on that as well. It's clips are great and also just very complicated with a couple different factors that we're dealing with right now. But we are working on that. I don't know when that's coming back yet, but it should be before the end of the summer.
Any other questions that we can answer on this? I'm going to give it like that 10 seconds of awkward silence. Okay, let's call it 8 seconds of awkward silence. Okay. I'm sending these page links to our curriculum writers. Do they have to be a user? No, they do not have to be a user to user in church.tech. Hold on a second. Do they have to be a user to curate to our church's voice? Sorry, I'm messing things here. Do they have to be a user in church.tech, or are turning the edit rights on the page sufficient to edit the page? No, Josh, they've got to be a user to edit the page. Correct?
Yeah, they have to be a user to edit the page. To make notes, they would not have to be a user.
Exactly. Yeah. If they're gonna take the core curriculum that you're creating and change it up, they've got to be a user. But you can create unlimited user accounts, so that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. So
Oh, when do unlimited
Do
uploads,
what?
Josh?
So that's coming with version 2, but just message us if you need more uploads and we'll get them to you.
For the record,
We're
version 2 is
definitely,
scheduled to launch on August 1st. So that's what we're aiming for right now. So that's not far away. Pretty excited about that. Okay, last thing I want to talk about really quickly.
yeah.
And then we've got to go because this room is getting really full. Very excited about this. First of all, seriously, thank you for being here today. Thanks for your patience with a little bit of the IT world kind of getting a little nuts here, but really excited about the next training days. If you have not signed up for it, go ahead and do that now. If everything is according to plan and we have some margin, but not a ton of margin, we are going to be releasing something to you all and showing you how to do something in 2 weeks that is going to be big. Okay. And so we really want to make sure that you're here for that. The general thing, here's the tease that we're going to come up with. Right now, most of what we do comes from material based off the sermon. Okay. That's kind of your single source of truth right now is when the sermon does stuff and then, we'll take a transcript and we'll make this out of this out of this. And we've got people in the church that are like, this is great. But what I do doesn't require the sermon. I need a social media, I need a communications plan on something that's not related to this weekend. I've got an event coming up. I think that's coming up like that. We're about to release an entire group of tools called ministry tools that is going to be how we connect to all the people on your staff that are not sermon based, right? That are not like, oh, we need the sermon for this thing or this thing or this thing. Okay. It's going to be a variety of things. Okay. And so it'll be an awful lot like prompt buttons are right now, where it's like, here's the mechanism for it. And here's like 5 prompt buttons, but we added 3 more and we added 3 more. We'll be consistently adding in new ministry tools. But for instance, ways to say to people, hey, I've got small groups coming this fall. Help me come up with my 2 months out, come up with my marketing plan for small groups so people are aware of it on the weekends the weekend that we launch it. And it will come up with not only just here, you should say this, you should say this. It'll write your stage announcements. It'll write an e-news article for you. It'll write all the pieces that you need for that and help you come up with different ideas on how to video a promo video for it and things like that. Okay. That's just one of the things that we're coming up with. Old Testament studies, Greek word studies for New Testament scripture passages, all going to be in there. And we really want you all to see it first. Okay. And so if you haven't signed up for training days, definitely do that. I put in the beginning of the chat a link to Facebook, to our Facebook group. If you're not in the insiders group, sign up for that, and we'll definitely have you come in for that. And we will take this recording and we'll have it posted there by the end of today. So if you don't want to go back through it and say, what was he talking about? Because he talks fast and Don talks fast all the time anyway, and he talks even faster, which is crazy. So like, that'll be up there and you can look through it or any of the past ones as well. Okay. Sound good? Will there be an additional cost or included in our subscription? Currently, no. But we are working on a different plan. Not in a way that's going to hurt it, but basically we're going to kind of break some things up in a way that you're going to be able to pay for the things that you actually use and not for the things that you don't use. When we first started Church.tech, we had like a third of the ability that we have now. And so there are some things that we're going to have to expand on, and there'll be some add-on things that we bring to that as well. Some different add-on, like we've got a thing coming out in October called Sermon Copilot. That will be an add-on to this. But no, the ministry tools will not be an additional expense to what we're doing right now. It'll be core to the platform. Sound good? Awesome. Hey, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon.